Hello and welcome everybody to the Overwatch Talk podcast where we talk Overwatch.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in the name. All right. So, as you know, I'm blind here with my two co-hosts Calvin and DMT or
It's
more
actually Kyle.
it's Kyle now. So,
Yeah.
Kyle and DMT. Um so gotta stop. Okay. So, TMT, I know recently you've been having, and I don't want to say trouble because you can usually get out of it, but what are some more things that you've seen in comp recently, like certain heroes or certain compositions being played?
Uh, the meta is the exact same as the last podcast.
True.
It is Orisa Sigma, but Ball is being played more and more on more maps, even though it is still limited. It is only on maps that he is very good, like Busan. I'm pretty sure that's one.
Hmm.
Whatever the Diva
The
Mecha base
the
one.
mecha base
He's good there, and the other map with the Widow map. Uh, and
downtown.
that's pretty much it. But
If I can add anything, I think
Hmm.
we've seen a little bit less Baptiste with the recent changes. I think we've seen it's scarce, but definitely an upgrade in Diva play. I've seen a little bit more Divas being played,
Hmm.
but I think based on the recent balance changes that we talked about last time, I think I've definitely seen a change.
I can definitely say there's been less BAP, and usually I think I'm a pretty good BAP based, just the healing I do, but I have been finding myself much less effective in situations where BAP should be very effective, and I think
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
definitely due to the Immor.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
really survive. It's 5 seconds. Like your team has to be very coordinated to use that in 5 seconds, as well as the 20%. Like you have to charge more ult, with the 20% added
yeah.
to it. It's
As
definitely
the
harder to play
healer,
BAP. Yeah.
as the healer player for the group, I can definitely attest to that. BAP's been difficult for me. I've seen a little bit more use with Lucio and Ana recently. I think
Hmm.
the speed boost has been being important, especially with the comp that we're starting to run with
Hmm.
Orisa Sigma. We're starting to turn to speed. So I
Hmm.
think it's a notable change.
And like DMT mentioned, the ball, and on Busan, I definitely know I've been playing ball a lot more recently.
For
The
sure.
speed boost with the grapple is very effective for getting to certain spots on many of the maps, like especially control point maps. You can definitely get to positions much faster. You can get set up for your team and roll through. It really at that point depends on your survivability as a ball player and your team's ability to move in. But Ball Baptiste, I would definitely say is has been the big changes. I haven't really seen too much change in DPS. Maybe a
No,
tracer here and there. Definitely a lot less Genji.
for sure.
I mean, he wasn't being played that much more, but I definitely see much less Genji. Um, unfortunately, we were not able to get Anchor OW on the podcast tonight. He has to coach for scrims. He was going to be later up in the podcast, but I did get a statement from him on Jeff's mention of 132. So we'll bring that up later. But for now, I do have a question for DMT. Like I like to start off most of the podcasts, I come up with one question for him. And the question is, what is most important for team synergy while solo queuing?
um, team synergy.
Hmm.
You just have to have a good composition. It's all about compositions. It's not really about mechanical skill anymore, especially for DPS.
Hmm.
And obviously, you would need to have good and coordinated tanks. If you're a tank player, make sure you use your microphone. Make sure to play meta tanks and ball only when necessary. If you're a healer player, make sure to also be good on Baptiste if you're playing it, because invulnerability, obviously, it's not used as much, but it's still good. And if a great way, to climb, if you want to synergize your team, make them play better, is by playing Mei. Her wall is one of the strongest abilities in the game, and it disrupts enemy teams so well. It just helps your team so much. So if you're a solo queuer, best thing to do is to lead your team to create a good composition. Compositions win the game, no matter how well or good, how well or bad you are. And that's the best part of Overwatch. You can have a terrible team, but if you rally them together and create a good composition, you still win. And obviously play meta heroes, don't, throw on off meta heroes.
And there you have it, folks. Statement from DMT on synergy while solo queuing in would assume to be any rank, or at least most ranks. Um, so now moving on to more of a fun question today. Let's rank what we think is the top 5 DPS streamers.
Kabaji, Chipsa.
Okay, why
Oh,
Kabaji?
it was a joke. I think
Okay.
Kabaji's not that good anymore. He used to be very good, but I don't think he's very good at adapting to the meta changes.
Why do you think that is? Do you think
I
he's kind of
haven't
a one
seen
trick?
I haven't seen him succeed as much in this meta that I had before when he was able to play things like Tracer and Widowmaker in a meta that fit around them. And I think he's seeing less success now. I haven't seen many clips of him, so I don't know if that really amounts his success, but I think he's a little less successful in this current meta. He hasn't been able
Mhm.
to adapt.
Now, when you say successful, do you mean less popular or less successful in rank?
Well, you could put it either way. I mean, less popular, probably. I haven't seen as many clips of him. He hasn't been getting much publicity. He hasn't been popping off. I don't know what's happening, but we'll have to see. I just haven't seen a lot from him recently. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that means a struggle to adapt.
Struggle to adapt from Kabaji. Now,
Well,
DMT, you
I'd have to
having, yeah,
say, well, sorry, go.
I was gonna say you having played with players like Sabiobi, Kabaji, Chipsa, so many just great DPS players. Who have you seen recently in your latter games that has been kind of popping off?
Um, I would have to say DPS wise, I have no clue because DPS are just not. I mean, maybe Doomfist players are doing well, but DPS players really don't, play they don't determine the game.
Mhm.
I'd have to say it's tank players like definitely Hard Blue has been really good so far. Super, the big tank streamers have been doing real well, but I'd also have to disagree that uh, that Kabaji has been doing bad. I think Kabaji is pretty good, as he is probably one of the best tracers, if not the best tracer. He has
Mm.
Mhm.
survived Goat's meta on Tracer,
Oh, yes.
and I think there's no doubt that he's doing. Maybe I haven't seen the stream or anything, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he's doing just fine on Tracer.
I mean, I think recently I've seen a clip of him, but it was more of a funny moments. It was him on Tracer on one of his alternate accounts, and he was in top 500. Granted, maybe like the 3 to 400 range, but playing Tracer in his, top 500 games, and still being able to get a clip, even if it is just a funny clip. I mean, still feel like being able to play Tracer in this meta against things like Sigma Rock, and especially up there in top 500, Sigmas can hit their rocks. So playing Tracer up there is definitely hard, and to see him in top 500 up there, still playing Tracer against this meta, I mean, I kind of have to I disagree with you, Kyle. Think he's still kind of popping off a little bit.
All right.
I don't think he's definitely like dead
Well,
for
he's gonna
sure.
be top 500 for a while. There's like
Yeah, there's no
once you get
doubt.
to his level of skill, that you don't
It doesn't
saying he's
matter.
top 500 is a every day. You know,
Yeah, it's like
S-
Chipsa
s-
in
yeah,
a
saying
sense.
Chipsa is in anything other than high elo, that's normal. You know, it's
Hmm.
hard to judge. Top, most top streamers in Overwatch are high ranked players, you know? So it's hard to say that a high ranked DPS player that has a big stream is gonna not be doing well because that's defeats the purpose of why they're a big streamer and why they're popular, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've seen Defran being streaming recently.
There's I see all the 3 dead
Personally,
bodies though.
I have been seeing. I know people like ITDQD. I know he still streams. He still gets definitely a decent amount of viewers playing that. Now, Cavalry, at least for Genji, to him still be playing Genji in this meta and with the broken dash, which is a bug. I mean, I think he's high masters um as of now, but I don't know how he does that even in there up at even high masters, which is definitely a step down from top 500 GM games. To him still being doing that, I find that still very, impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I think most Genji players, like you'll see Genji streamers or whatever are on alternate accounts and rotating and not really trying to reach top ranks as of now because Genji's just not good in
Hmm.
general. But yeah, Cavalry's still playing on his main.
Hmm. Now,
And it's no doubt that he dropped.
oh yeah, no, he's definitely dropped because of
And
that
that's not
Genji
because of his
fiasco.
skill. That's just because of the meta. He can't really change it.
Hmm. Now, one person I think is almost kind of sorely underrated. I don't think that the best TPS streamer out there now, but Javion. I mean, this guy places all of his things and is consistently, maybe not in top 500, but at least in the combined list, he is up near the top almost every time. So not only is this man grinding to keep up all his ranks, he's still doing pretty decent on the DPS role, which is his, preferred
His
role.
DPS is actually in Masters. I was playing with it today. He was in Masters on DPS, but his alternate accounts, skirt 2 times.
Hmm.
That is in high elo, which is weird. I think it's almost because he's a streamer and he gets stream sniped. That is
Hmm.
why his alternate accounts are much higher than his main, which is
Hmm.
weird.
And that could
You
also and that could also be, sorry to cut you off, but I remember a
okay.
clip a long time ago, I think maybe by Kabaji, saying that the reason that people's Smurfs aren't top 500 is because it's their Smurf, in the sense that it's just their Smurf and they don't really have to try as hard because it doesn't matter as much as their main account. So that could be a reason that his accounts like skirt 2 times are up that high.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I thought it was interesting that that was the case.
I
But yeah,
mean,
as a
yeah,
DPS player, being in a Masters is on your main account might not is
yeah,
you know.
it's definitely a bit of a weird position to be. And honestly, now that I'm thinking about this question, when I wrote it down, I was thinking, oh, this would be easy. DPS is still kind of relevant, but the more and more I look into it, there's less people playing DPS before. Um, so it's really kind of hard to. And if they are playing DPS and they are a pretty popular streamer, they're not doing as well. So that's almost my fault in a sense, but there are a couple. I think what's his name? Zow. Christian, I think you've talked about him before being
Yeah, he's an alleged. A lot of people say he's hacked before. I remember a couple seasons ago, like people accuse him of hacking, so we had to draw maps because of it. But that's just because I don't know.
yeah,
He's
I
friends
mean,
with a bunch of coders and stuff like that, or supposedly I don't know all the details. But yeah, keep going.
but I mean even just seeing his clips, if he isn't hacking, he has insane aim. Like almost unmatched. There was a one on Nepal. I think it was Shrine, the one with the elephant. Um,
Yeah, I saw that.
and he was damage moved by Mercy and just gets like a 5K or something, like all headshots, and he
Yeah,
didn't miss. And it was like, okay, wow. I mean, this could just be like a one-time pop-off type thing, but it's still very impressive.
For sure,
And
I've seen that as well.
I
Definitely
mean,
impressive.
I mean, at that, I mean, I'm not even sure what the other comp was, but it was. I'm pretty sure it was the meta, which is like Hog Sigma or not Hog Sigma, Arista Sigma. Um, so I mean, to be popping off like that with McCree, I know it was definitely during roll queue, so it was definitely like uh, Arista someone, but he
That was
still
a
got a
season ago
yeah.
or
If he
two.
was still popping off with insane aim, and they weren't close up. They were relatively medium range kills with headshots. I mean, it's just I don't know. I haven't seen much from him lately. I mean, maybe he's slowed down because of the allegations, but he is definitely up there in terms of being a good DPS player. And I think, if he continues to play like he is, or even better to, improve, he can definitely be a top streamer as well.
Yeah, a big part of it is just your um reputation.
Mhm.
Obviously, as much as I want say Zay to not be a hacker, or as I don't believe he was. For instance, when we had to draw maps when he was on my
Mhm.
team, I was like, what's the point when there's no down to earth proof?
Yeah, there's no hard evidence against him.
Yeah, and he's actually streaming, and he's not just some weird alternate account that's has no idea what he's doing, doesn't join team chat or whatever. But um, and that's your reputation. So no one's gonna watch a
An
sketchy
alleged hacker.
streamer.
Yeah, no one's gonna watch that. So.
Yeah, and people want to see someone that's very energetic, that plays well.
Mhm. And I feel like.
That's interesting, different.
Mhm. And I feel like, especially for Twitch streams, there's really two ways you can do it. You can be extremely talented and have almost no personality, and some people watch you, or you can just have all personality and be somewhat decent and people watch you. So, I mean, even if he is kind of like a silent player, if his skill is real, I definitely think he deserves to put the allegations behind him and just start streaming again. Because I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a lot
if
of
mhm,
dedication to that.
mhm. All right.
It takes there's it's you can't just grow a stream just because you're good. You need to,
Mhm.
any big streamer has a big stream because they have a some sort of energetic, you know, I want to stream.
Mhm.
I Anybody can go in, be really good, and just put on a stream every time they play. But you need to also be dedicated, get your
To
content
yeah,
out.
to entertainment
It's
as
a little
well.
bit more, yeah. It's a little bit more than just being good.
Mhm. And I feel like not to be a bit of a stand, but XQC, he matches that perfectly. He's a GM top 500 player. He makes, good plays, but he also has funny moments. And he also has, like the things that he does on stream. They're very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, he's not a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and even now, in the most recent months, he's been doing a lot more variety streaming. So I mean, if he can take that personality to, other
Other
games as
games.
well, he can definitely pop off
Which
as a
he
streamer.
has.
Yeah, and he definitely has, for sure. I mean, just like right now, he's playing with Doctor Disrespect and Summit 1G, and the just him and Doctor Disrespect alone is over 30,000, close to 40,000 viewers. So I mean, it's not like he's short of people wanting to watch him either. He has a pretty big following and pretty decent skill. So I mean, if Zay does come back to streaming and he puts the kind of like the allegations behind him, I feel like he can definitely pop off if he starts to not be almost exactly like SG, but be kind of entertaining to watch as well. All right. Okay. So I don't know if you guys heard, but Jeff uh came out with a statement saying
On
that
the forum?
I think so. about instead of making it 2-2-2,
Three,
making
two,
it
one.
1-3-2.
132.
Is
Sorry.
that so no 2-2-2 at all
That's saying I think it
or both?
was one tank, one flex, two DPS, and two heals was what he was getting at. So when you go do roll queue, instead of queuing for tank, healer, DPS, it's flex, tank, healer, DPS.
Um, I have no clue if that's real. It hopefully maybe. But I would hope that it'd be both. You know, get some more variety in.
Hmm.
Definitely would open up the meta
Yeah.
because if it's hard to say. I mean, yeah, it definitely would open up the meta if you have both. Because two tanks, if you keep 2-2-2 in, you could still work with Orisa Sig, and then you can also counter it by not having to play Orisa Sig.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like a more important thing to talk about would be the some people have been saying that you in what is it called, the public testing region,
Hmm.
PTR,
Yeah. PTR.
there will soon be um role blocking or whatever it's called,
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
hero
hero
bans.
bands.
hero bans. Yes.
Now that would be interesting.
Yes, it
Definitely
would definitely get rid
interesting.
of one trick players.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Players like Shipsa, Necros.
Mm.
I mean, not to call them out,
Yeah,
but call them out. I mean, they're basically one tricks.
you're right.
Yeah,
Um, who
and any
else?
like any mercy one trick
Yeah,
or
Mercy
something
one
like that, you can
tricks.
definitely take advantage of of
Hmm.
what they can play. So now instead of just mercy, they're limited to playing heroes that they don't know how to play.
Hmm.
Take advantage of that.
And then DPS players, like Aquamarine OW, the Junkrat player,
Yeah, Junkrat.
people could ban him, so then he's for. I mean, that really just then that opens up a whole new question about stream sniping, because then it becomes way more serious
Ah, true.
at that point, because then people are targeting streamers to go into their games
Play
and
against them.
and play against them and ban their heroes specifically just because you know they're on the other team.
I
I
think
mean,
one downside of a hero ban is you want to go into the game, say like I'm only getting on because I just want to play Widow, right?
mhm,
And you pick DPS, you get in, and you go to pick Widow, but no, Widow got banned,
mhm,
and now you're just left unhappy with your game experience. I mean, it might help the
But
overall
that
game
is very
experience for everybody
specific.
else, but I don't know if they necessarily do it on such a large scale because it might decrease playership in a lot of people,
mhm,
just
That,
as in
that's
a
that's
business
very
standpoint.
specific though. I feel like, say for instance, if you ban Orisa, now look at like all the simply by banning Orisa, now you have so more tanks to choose from and such a different like
mhm,
variety of DPS now to choose from.
mhm.
Everything changes just because of hero bans, and that makes the meta not. It makes it very fluid and irregular. So
You're
instead
right.
of
It
having
could
to
be
play
more
the same
interesting.
things exactly, you could ban certain heroes so your meta changes in
Yeah.
each game instead of across the
And then
board.
if you look at
Mhm.
it in that standpoint, making it more interesting, definitely a big prospect seeing that the Overwatch League is starting back up soon. It could
True.
make the league much more exciting than it is than just
Mhm.
seeing like it was for the beginning part of the second season, just goats for the first three stages.
Oh yeah, that was
It
terrible.
was boring. It wasn't fun to watch. They barely broke 100K viewers a stream. I mean,
It
I
was
think
Oh
yeah.
well, yeah,
the
that was
variety.
that's just because of your base, but yeah,
But then again, if like you said with the Overwatch League, there are I know OGE specifically is a Winston specialist.
Hmm.
So if you see that they've thrown an OGE and he's a Winston specialist and he hasn't been performing well on his Sigma and all that, and that's something you can
It's another
exploit as
level
a
of
team.
strategy.
Yeah. It adds the another level of strategy to the higher end of games, and
And it
then
also creates a more like who instead of who can play meta better, it is who can
can play certain
play
heroes better.
mechanically better.
Hmm.
You know, instead of
Yeah,
me
it's
just going in saying, "Okay, I'm playing Orisa," nothing's gonna stop that. And if someone else wants to play Orisa, great, I'll just play whatever. You know,
that
it's
increase in strategy could be just like other sports, like in football. If there's a team that runs the ball a lot, then you want to beef up your run defense and stop the run, right?
Hmm.
So I think hero bans could be a way that Overwatch League could do that because as of right now, there isn't really much in way of doing that other than trying to counter them, and which is kind of difficult at some point. So
Hmm.
definitely.
I
I mean,
think it'd be an exciting prospect. Um, so I'm kind of hoping it gets added. We'll see. I think it'll be
hmm,
exciting for Overwatch League games most importantly because I
yeah.
know I like to watch them.
Hmm.
So
Going back to what I said about it adding another level to the more professional side is that when you start to, if it's in ladder, how does that affect ladder? I mean, because that's where the player base is. There's only some odd amount of players in the Overwatch League. So are you adding it just because of the pros, or are you really adding it for the community?
Right, you're adding it for the community. You're getting rid of one tricks, and you're trying to
Hmm.
expand the level. You're trying to get rid of heroes that are not healthy to skill rating. Brig, if they have a Brig one trick, you're gonna get rid of Brig. And even if you say you don't want, if say remember when Brig was very overpowered, or
Hmm.
now it's May is very overpowered, or Orisa is very overpowered. You get rid of those heroes, so the skill rating becomes more natural, and people
Hmm.
can't just one trick a hero because there is no skill rating
that's
if you don't need skill to climb.
that's a good
Hmm.
point. I really like that thinking.
Hmm. But then again, if you know that there's a break prayer, you have to base that off intuition because there's one thing you're forgetting about, and that's the private profiles. If there
Uh,
are hero bans introduced, everyone's just going to private their profile. So no one knows what heroes to ban unless
well,
they're
even
known
well
in the
that
community for playing a certain hero, like Kefri. It's either going to be a Widow or Ash ban, let's be honest here. And there's going to be certain people that you just have to know play certain heroes because the
Yeah, it's
private
definitely gonna be more
profiles.
prominent in higher ranks because they'll
Yeah.
say, "Oh, this guy, I know
Mhm.
he plays this. He destroyed
Mhm.
us in the last game. We should ban this hero so we
Yeah.
don't get destroyed this game."
And the
well
private
even that
profile.
that even allows for one tricks in lower ranks that aren't known to still play their one trick without anybody else knowing, and
Mhm.
it eliminates again a meta.
True.
You want to get rid of the meta and all the broken heroes. It's not so much. Obviously it is not good for one tricks, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about you guys are right. This is only going to really affect these one tricks that are well known and are probably high ranked,
Mhm.
and that's the top 1%, top 3%. That doesn't affect a large part of the community. What it does affect is it affects the meta in a good way, and it affects broken heroes in a good way.
True.
Yes, because if I saw a article the other day about the Mercy meta and how it was started being played a lot in GM and higher ranks, and a lot of the other ranks picked up on that. And then Mercy pick rates in the lower ranks, it wasn't as effective as it was in Grandmaster, but it went up to almost 100% Mercy pick rate at that certain time. I think
Mhm.
like in ranks like Gold and Platinum, they were up to almost 95% pick rate.
Hmm,
So
Mhm.
Grandmaster definitely influences it, so it could change up the meta. We'll have to see.
Mhm.
definitely.
We won't know. I don't even know if hero bans have they been confirmed, or is
Um.
that just
I
for
think it's just
PTR
been
Well,
notes?
teased.
the clip from Emong said that it would be in
Oh
PTR in
yeah.
the next two weeks ish, and the clip was like a day or two ago, so it can be in the
I mean,
upcoming.
yeah.
Hopefully,
Hopefully it's released to PTR first, and that they run like a mini
definitely,
2 to 3 week
definitely.
season of
Just like they
competitive
did with the
in
roll queue.
their, yeah. Like, yeah, the role queue beta, they have to run the hero run beta. There's no way that you can just throw that in there and then
Yeah, for
just kind of
sure.
let all hell break loose without at least some testing first to see, because I mean, I don't want to keep going back to the private profile, but if you're gonna do hero bans and if you want to do it right, you have to eliminate that,
Hmm.
because then in
Yeah.
the lower ranks where the people aren't well known, who are you gonna ban? It's gonna be Orisa every time, and we don't
You're
even know
right.
how it's gonna work. Is it gonna be one tank, one healer, one DPS, or is it just gonna be one hero from the entire roster?
We'll have to see.
Hmm.
Hopefully, it's a change that's coming. I'm excited.
Hmm.
And I do think what they're trying to get with that 132 is
Hmm.
more DPS players because there is
Uh-huh.
definitely a decrease in that and a increase in tank
Tank.
importance, not just tank pick rate, but also importance. Importance in the two tanks and healers is much, 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 much more than that of DPS. And so if you have three DPS, now it becomes more of okay, who's got the better DPS?
Hmm.
You know,
And triple DPS is a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
mean,
it is definitely.
watching triple DPS, playing triple DPS, I think it's one of my most favorite comps that I've ever ran.
Hmm.
It just makes for a more interesting game.
And if this does come into play and it's more of a one 2 2, as in one tank, one flex, two DPS, and two heals, then we might see the ball come back into play 100%, because everyone's going to want to play DPS. So the ball and three DPS is might also come back,
Oh
like you
yeah,
said.
the Dragons comp. Or
Hmm.
no, that was a Hunters comp, sorry.
Hmm. But I mean, Ball could also start making a comeback, and he is a little bit. I have seen pretty good success with picking Ball in my recent matches. I've been popping off a lot. It's honestly kind of easy to pop off with Ball if you play him right. If you just kind of roll in, maybe get a slam, use your shields and get out, set up again, and if you coordinate that with a team attack, and then we start to move into this 3 DPS, you can have like an Ash go in for a burn, a Genji dash through, and tracer pressure or fire pressure with a ball slam. That's easy squishy picks. So then it just turns into a game of who can pick who faster, and that might be a good change for the game. But we just don't know. We won't know until the until it releases. Now, before we do continue off this topic, because we have been talking about it for quite a lot, Anchor OW gave me a statement on his thoughts of the 132 meta. And just for some background context, Anchor is a coach of a 4.5k team. So I think I would be it would be credible enough to talk about, or give his opinion. He says it would completely kill the role of off tank and would force current off tank players and OWL contenders and tier 3 off tank players alike to swap to a different role to stay relevant. Orisa in her current state would remain a must pick since she is so unkillable and has a ton of sustain. If no balance passes were made between now and a 1-3-2 implementation, the meta would likely be Orisa, Hanzo Widow, Reaper May, Baptiste, Far Mercy, as most of these heroes are insanely overtuned. Although Ryan, May, Reaper, Doomfist, Lucio, Bap would be interesting to see. Thoughts, boys?
Yeah, you're right. Main tank would obviously it would get rid of off tank completely.
Hmm.
And that's why I was thinking that they would need to have two, like an option
Hmm.
where but that would be weird. How would you implement that? I have no
Well,
clue.
see, here's the option. It's if they do the one flex, as I think they should, like the
Hmm.
two
The
tanks, or no, sorry,
one
two
tank.
DPS, two supports, and one tank and one flex, then you can go to a 3-2-1, or you can go back to a 2-2-2 if you need.
But
Um,
how would you be able to set that up? Are you going to queue in for tank and are three other people going to queue for DPS, but one person can swap or what?
It would be
Mm.
like I think I said it earlier. It would be, instead of queuing for 3 roles, you would queue for 4. You could queue for a tank role, the flex role, the singular flex role, the singular tank role, one of the two DPS and one of the two healers. So
So like, yeah, if you feel
Would that
healers
make
would
comfortable,
do
longer
insane.
queue times? I have no clue. You know,
True. What would that do to queue times?
no
I
clue.
mean,
I think the flex queue
cause
times would be kind of long, but I
I
think
would.
everything else
Mhm.
would kind of go a bit down. Flex might see a lot
I have
longer,
no
or it
clue.
might
It would need
be.
to go to PTR.
Yeah, we
That's the
really
last thing we've
can't
heard
give
of.
any statement about that until we see how it works. And if they even do a PTR 132 season, or then even with that, he didn't mention it. He didn't mention anything about the hero bands, but if the hero bands do come into play and someone gets rid of ball, that's almost a must 222 because there's not much else you can play singular tank with as much effectiveness as Bald has. I mean, maybe a Winston, but that's still a bit of a stretch considering he has I think it's a 12-second bubble cooldown and a 5-second jump. So he's in there for a guaranteed 5 seconds and only 700 HP with the shield. So, I mean, it would definitely be interesting if they, put in that 132
I
with
have to go
hero
for 10
bands.
seconds.
Okay. All right. So we did mention the Emong clip, and I feel like there's
yes.
not really any context here. So I'm just going to quickly play the audio from that clip.
I think you should play the video. I don't know if
I'm
the
gonna.
audio really does it justice.
That is true. Hold on, why can't I hear this? I don't know. But to give a gist of it, unfortunately, I can't get it to work right now. Uh, in between things Emong says about Overwatch, he gives a little wink. And he says things like, I think Overwatch is going to start going in the right direction. Looks over, wink. Uh, so he's probably got some details about the Overwatch upcoming, and that could be further inference. Like that could be almost anything. That could be the hero bands. That could be the 132. There's two options there. There could even be something about something with Overwatch 2 as well. Um, I mean, he really kind of left it up to interpretation. I mean, there wasn't much he said in there that could
Yeah, or it could just be nothing. Maybe it could just be a big troll. Like we'll have to see. We can't know for sure.
yeah. I mean, it's a very short clip. It's 37 seconds. I will link the clip in the description of this video, so you guys can watch for yourself and form your own thoughts. Uh, but unfortunately, there just isn't enough information to talk about here. But it is interesting because he was winking a lot. He was giving off
Oh
some
yeah, for
vibes.
sure.
He definitely knows something big. I mean, maybe not. I know he does do a lot of stuff.
He
Uh,
teased Overwatch 2 before BlizzCon also and did the same sort of thing. And that
mhm,
proved to be quite a big thing. So we'll have to see.
yeah. I mean, it could be something as minor as a new hero that kind of changes the meta. Like Sojourn was teased within the Overwatch 2 gameplay trailer.
Well, I don't think
It's
he'd be
I
that
mean,
excited about a new hero. I think it'd have
true.
to be a big change for them to go out and talk to a big streamer about it.
Yeah. I mean, he does
We've
do a
never
lot
seen
of
them
yeah.
tease a new hero
True. That
like
usually
this.
is left up to BlizzCon.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, he does do a lot of work with the Overwatch devs. I think there's been a couple times at least where he's been streaming in their offices.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
a
know if you
contributor
yeah,
for sure.
he's definitely in there. So I mean, there's no doubt that it's something, but you just don't know what.
For sure.
So, I mean, it's really all up for speculation
Back.
at a certain point. Um Welcome back, DMT. We were just talking about the Emon clip. What are your thoughts and opinions on that?
Interesting, but honestly, I have no clue if he means it or not.
Yeah,
I
I
would
think
like. I would. I know all he wants to do is especially it's a big importance, like we talked about for. I think we talked
about
about it for last podcast. But yeah, pros need to definitely and big streamers need to guide the community and get the game as good as possible, help with it, and
hmm
obviously Emong has a big role in that because he has a big audience, and I think he's hopefully I don't know he's doing all this weird winking stuff from the clip. Um, you'd have to see it if you know if you don't know
yeah,
what it
I'm
is,
I'm
but
going to link it in the description of the YouTube video.
okay, great. But yeah, you definitely need to see it, and who knows if it's real? Hopefully it is because everything he's saying is like helpful for the community. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's something that really changes the game because it is, pretty serious to be talking about Overwatch starting to move in the right direction and then giving a wink. Like, there's so many things that people want out of Overwatch that could literally be anything. Uh, so we really just have to wait and see. Wait for further information on that. So that is all we have on the agenda for tonight. But at
Huh.
the end of every episode, we do go over the Overwatch League schedule, the starting schedule. In the first episode, we went over week 1, giving our predictions on that.
Let Kyle get a go at this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kyle.
can you link me,
Yeah,
please?
was it? Did they switch the schedule around? Because it looks a tad different from last time. I don't. Were we predicting
Um, we
the
did
fuel, or were we predicting the New York one?
we already did both fuel and the New York one actually.
No, we didn't. We
Years.
cut it
Yeah, we did.
off. No, we
Oh, did
cut it
we?
off. Yeah, we cut it off. I
All right.
remember because you said you had to
Well,
go.
I want to
So
do all of week 2 today.
all of week 2.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to finish up the week 1? I don't think we
I'll
did
let
New
you go
York.
for that, and then I'll look at week 2.
Okay. Oh man. Defiant versus Paris Eternal. Now, that one is more of an interesting one because Defiant, who do they even have on their roster? Is it
They remember they changed into lots of Canadian players to players like
oh
Agility.
yeah.
I'm trying to remember who else.
Let me
It's not on the top of my head, but they did have a very good offseason. They're going to be strong. So I'm excited to see how they perform.
all right, let me pull up the roster very quickly. Um it does seem they have Mangachu, Agility is I know
Yes.
that's gonna be good. Logic, Surfer, Kareev. I mean, that alone is killer. That is 4 killer DPS players with a lot of range. Mangachu being amazing on the Pharah, Agility's being good on the she's Genji. I know Genji for sure. He's good. Surfer with the hit scan basically on lock. Logics, I don't really see a lot of logics.
Logic's also hit scan
Hit scan. Oh
comparable to
yeah,
Shore 4.
yeah.
Very
I've seen
tracer
him.
heavy. Very good at that. He popped out at
Yeah.
the World Cup a couple years ago and was
hmm
very strong, I think.
yeah.
Or it was the Florida Mayhem, I believe.
I mean, if they can keep up this, if they can keep their DPS up, I mean, they got Kareev. I've never seen. Is that Rocky? Roki? I think.
Roki,
Yeah,
main
Roki.
tank player. He played for them last year.
No,
Not
Roki
terrible.
is Roki's support.
Roki support. Oh, I thought he was a tank player.
No, that they have
Either I'm
Kelex
tripping or he changed
and
his role.
no, they have Nevex and Beast as their
Got you.
tanks.
They also got rid of Sherrick.
hmm So I mean, if Kareev, I know Kelex, he's Lucio based player, if if I'm not mistaken.
Kellick's been switching. Been playing
Lucio was
Mercy.
68% of his time played in the
Yeah.
2019 season. I know he was Lucio. So Lucio, I mean, depending on which way the meta goes, Lucio could be very viable. If the 1-3-2 does come into play, Lucio can be extremely viable if you run a Pharah, Mercy, Lucio, Genji, Tracer, Ball.
Oh,
For
definitely.
sure.
Yeah. There's
That
so many
is,
options.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Lucio runs
Give
with
it
a
up.
lot of things.
I mean, that can even be good with a Ryan Zarya. I mean, if Calix's Lucio really pulls through and Kariv keeps up the heals on Ana, sure
Which he
for
will.
agilities, yeah, the Nano Blade with agilities and Kariv is just gonna be nuts. I mean, if Kariv plays a good Mercy, Kariv plays Mercy, right?
Kariv's Ana. I
Ana,
think if they
Ana
go
Zen.
towards it, yeah,
He's an Ana
Kellick's would be
Zen.
playing the Mercy.
Yeah, Kellex would be on Mercy for a sure for pocket or Logic's Tracer. I mean, dude, that is a stacked, and I mean stacked DPS lineup. So I mean,
Yeah, we've
over
seen
Paris,
who also Paris did also have a good offseason. I'm trying to remember who they picked up, but I know it was notable. They made some changes.
I'm looking at the roster now. They still have soon. They still have at least 6 players. They still have at least 6 players. They have Cruz on heels. Cruz is pretty good. If you guys don't remember, he had
The
the desk
Yes, I
slam,
remember. Desk slam, yeah.
the
He
big
destroyed
desk
the mouse.
slam, throwing down his G Pro wireless. DMT, you've actually played with HYP as your healer before. I remember that.
HYBA, probably.
Yeah,
Cannot
Ben
remember.
Best on the Reinhardt. That
Mediocre at best,
I
but
mean,
we'll
but
see if he can
still,
improve.
mhm,
He showed
if
some good qualities at the end,
mhm.
but we can definitely see if he does improve.
Was that Nico? Is it? It's NICOGHD Nico.
Yeah, Nico.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him play personally. I mean, I never really followed. Yeah, no, he was in Brig jail. He was in Brig
Yep.
jail
He was
for
big
most of
jail.
that. I mean, we're
And he
talking
wasn't that
like
great at it.
we're talking like 10 minutes on most DPS players. The most
Oh,
DPS player he has is an hour, and that's on Sombra. The rest was tanks or a healer. So, I mean, maybe it's his time to shine, or maybe Zizzy, XYXZI Z. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't have any stats, so and I haven't seen him play. Maybe he'll pop off. Um,
Yeah, maybe.
I know they
let's see.
picked up Smex as well. I do. Smex sounds very familiar. So I mean, soon. I mean, I know he's in top 500, but I haven't never seen him be consistent. Maybe like one or
But
two picks a fight, but
he was pretty consistent with them last year. Um, Also pretty consistent with the Valiant. I mean, he wasn't top tier, but he was still consistent, pretty good. So
I
we'll see
mean,
what he did during the off season.
yeah, we'll
Definitely,
see if he
hopefully, he
improved.
strengthened.
But for that, Toronto Defiant, Paris Eternal, and if this 1-3-2 rolls out before then, which it very may will be, I definitely have to gonna give that to Toronto for
Alrighty.
sure, just based on that. Now there is there's one, two, three, four, 5 teams playing, and London Spitfire plays twice, Paris Eternal plays twice, and New York Excelsior plays twice, and then it's Boston Uprising. But the next match is Spitfire and New York Excelsior. Now I know for a fact that Spitfire redid their whole roster, and I remember how were they looking in off season? Do you remember how they were looking in off season?
We really haven't seen anything from them so far quite yet.
I mean,
Um,
this is JMac. I know. I swear I've heard JMac in before as a tank, but otherwise these are completely new players with no stats other than Krillin, which they kept for support. So I mean, there's really nothing here for Spitfire. So let me look at the Excelsior roster. What did Excelsior? Did they make any
They
pickups?
they did make a change. They switched out Meko for
Hmm.
Hotba.
Oh, that's a different.
Um,
Yeah, that's definitely good.
they picked up Who Are You? Actually, it's not a. We'll have to see if it's a good thing. Can't forget Meko was a top 3 tank, and
Oh yeah.
Hotba wasn't that great, but Hotba did improve with the charge near the end of the season.
Hmm.
Pretty good on Sigma, pretty good on Diva. Um,
Hmm.
I'll have to check the validity of that in the new season. But they also picked up Who Are You, the Genji player. He finally turned
Yeah.
18,
Yeah.
Oh
but
yeah.
they
Yeah.
dropped
Horu.
they dropped people like Pine, which is sad to see, but he didn't
Oh
get any
wow.
playtime anyway.
I mean,
Um,
season what was it? Stage 1. He got a lot of playtime.
Yeah, in the
He
first
popped off a
season.
lot.
It was actually the second season. He actually didn't even see the stage. I don't think they played him once.
Ah, I mean, meta
They really
changes
only
really kind of killed DPS. At least in the most
yeah
recent meta changes, games have been more tank dependent. But
yeah he hasn't been able to flex onto the things that they need as well as Sabiobi and Libero and Flower have.
yeah, Libero, I know he's constant. He is definitely a good player for
Yep.
sure. Sabiobi, DMT, I believe you actually killed him. He walked
Yeah,
right
yeah,
into your
yeah.
bullets.
4400 DPS. You know,
Yep,
can't
Pog.
forget.
Cannot forget killing Sabiobi. Mano on tank.
Big.
I mean, he is really good. Playing
Yeah, for
Reinhardt for
sure.
I
50%
think
this
I played with
season.
him. Yeah, he's very high ranked right now.
Hmm. Pretty like middle of the pack as far as stats go. But his Reinhardt, Winston, I know he's pretty good at. I haven't seen him too much on the Orisa or Wrecking Ball, but I
I
mean,
think he plays Sigma. The last time I played, he was on Sigma. I mean, I obviously
so
Arisa over
yeah.
him because that's what I prefer. But I think if I remember his career
Hmm.
profile, it was more Sigma. So maybe you'll see an off tank. Who knows?
Maybe you see him playing more Sigma. I mean, we don't have. Maybe they're having him practice that. So, um, I mean, shoot, you'll never really know. But I mean, Spitfire, haven't seen much from them at all. So I mean, I would have to give that to Excelsior, um, for sure. And then for the next match, Spitfire versus Paris Eternal, I have to give it to Paris just because we've never seen stuff from Spitfire. We haven't seen anything yet. It's a completely new roster other than Krillin. Uh, so I mean, and then let's look at Boston. What changes did Boston make?
Boston picked up who was it? Swimmer, I believe, and Movin.
Oh,
Um,
Muffin.
and Swimmer as well. Can't forget about him. I'm trying to
Mm,
think. You're gonna have to pull up the roster, but
okay,
those are
I'll
the only
pull up the
two changes that I
roster.
know about off my head.
Munchkin, Brusson,
Say,
Swimmer. I mean, dude, this is actually pretty stacked roster. Muffin on tank. He was insane with Team Canada. Unfortunately, they lost, but he is a very good diva. And if that with the new diva changes, and if 3-1-2 or yeah 3-1-2, I mean that works to say, but if that comes back, maybe you see that. I mean,
well then don't forget they could just block him off of Diva.
true, they could if the hero bans go through as well. Then diva's gone, and that's what I was saying earlier about all these specialists in the league. They're gonna be insta banned, and then it's gonna be a big. It's gonna Teams are gonna have to have a backup hero for them to play. Um, but I mean, players like Color Hex, Munchkin. I mean, those are just guaranteed kills. Fusions on the Reinhardt. Um, he's pretty. I know he's a great Reinhardt, if not middle of the pack there. But I mean, Uprising and Excelsior. I mean, just based on the if looking at the Excelsior real quick, they still have a lot of their old roster. They still have Jonak, uh, Libero, Sabiobi, Mano. I mean, they have a lot of their core players still, so I'm gonna have to give that one to Excelsior
Yeah, I agree
for
with you.
that one. All right, so we're gonna move into week 2. Give you guys a little extra content here.
All
Um,
right.
Calvin, would you like to leave it off? Lead it
Oh
off
yes,
there. Week
since
2.
you did such a fantastic job.
All right, where are we
So,
starting? Are we starting at the Shanghai Dragons host or the Philly
we're
host?
going to be starting on hold up. Yes, it's Shanghai Dragons host.
Okay.
So we're going to be seeing the first Overwatch League games being played in China. Um,
Yeah.
so not in
Buggers.
America or North America. So we're gonna be seeing it looks like 4 teams: the Spark, the Hunters, the Dynasty, and the Dragons coming out. Um, so the first game, the Dynasty and the Spark.
All right.
So the Dynasty, I know they definitely made some changes. Um,
Picking up
Ooh,
Profit
push
and
cart.
during the
Jester.
offseason, picking up Profit and Gesture, yes. Also Bedosian is a new player. Losing players like Rouge Hong, Hiley, and Fleta.
Oh yeah, that's a big hit, especially with the
Fleta.
yeah, the Fleta and the Rouge
But
Hong.
we have replacements in
Mm-hmm.
Bedosian and Profit. Profit's arguably
Yeah,
more consistent and
he's really
better
good.
than Fleta. And Bedosian has been on the same level as Rouge Hong for quite a while, playing the same heroes.
Hmm.
So we'll have to see how that goes down. But I think
Yeah, that's a
that game,
solid.
going looking at the Spark now.
And then with
The Spark.
Michelle on tank and Jester,
Yes, we'll have to
that's
see how
and
they
then
do.
Marvel. I mean that those I've heard of all of those names.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't want to base it off that, but I mean I've seen a bunch of clips and they are definitely top tier players.
Yeah.
So,
So here, looking at the Spark, they actually did not make any change. They kept their original roster, going with Gook Shui, Adora, Rhea, Bazi, Godsby, IDK, Bebe, which proved to be pretty strong for them.
hmm
If Gushue is giving a chance to pop off, he does very well.
oh
It's kind
yeah,
of
no,
unfair.
Gushui
He's
is
insane.
yeah, no. If he has the support, he is going in. I
Yes, for
mean,
sure.
and with the supports like IDK and Bebe. I mean, I haven't seen much of Bebe, but IDK I know for sure is a top tier
Lucio player.
healer. Yeah. Godsby. I mean, you see him in the kill feed. There's no way you don't. You know, he pops off a lot. So I mean, we just have to see how. I mean, who knows? These guys might come out on top if they've been practicing together and the other team's trying to figure out their new rosters. They could have
Oh yeah, for sure.
not
Previous
even.
synergy.
It's yeah, they could just beat them by pure synergy alone.
That's
Um,
why I'm gonna give this matchup to the Hangzhou Spark. Um,
mhm. I mean, and I feel like
they also have Chinese crowd instead of
true.
Korean crowd. But so yeah, I'm gonna give this to the Spark. I think the previous synergy
Uh,
is definitely gonna help.
and to further back your point, they're working with Gesture now, so they're gonna have
Yes,
to kind of rework their tank play a little bit.
for sure,
Uh,
because Jester does have a different style.
mhm. And if they don't, and if 132 doesn't come into effect, um, they basically have to relearn their tank synergy with their DPS and healers. So I mean, it could very well go to the
For
spark
sure.
there.
For sure.
All
For
right,
sure.
all right. What is up
Second matchup,
next?
we have the Shanghai Dragons versus the Chengdu Hunters.
Okay.
So, first team I'm gonna look at is the Chengdu Hunters. Um, Not really changing up their roster very much. I don't think they even made a single change. The only
Mm-hmm.
change that they really made that I think is notable is losing Yang Zhaolong,
Mm,
um, who honestly didn't make much of a difference for him. He had his pop up,
mm-hmm.
but I think they're again the same with previous synergy. They're an exciting team to watch. They have
Mm-hmm.
very inventive compositions, players that have the chance to do very well. I mean, I know
Mm-hmm.
Ameng
Yeah,
is a
Ameng,
very fun tank to watch.
Elsa,
Jinmu,
yeah,
I don't know.
Jinmu.
Yveltal is also very good.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how they do. but they didn't change up, so definitely a previous synergy. And then we have Shanghai Dragons, who did make a couple changes, losing players like Koma, Gamsu, Young Jin, and Envy,
Mhm.
but also replacing them with players such as they picked up players like
Oh,
Fleta,
Flood! I got flooded out of
Void,
that.
Lee J. John. So I don't think it's a even replacement based on who they lost. I think they did lose a couple good players
Mhm.
based on replacements. I
Mhm.
know the main tank hole, I don't really know if they filled that. Seeing or Void, I think he did fill that. I forgot that they had
Mhm.
Void.
I
I think
mean.
Void definitely replaces Gamsu here. Not his
Mhm.
energy, but I think his skill. We
Mhm.
have Koma. Um, we'll have to see. They have Luffy and Izayaki,
And then
who proved to
Geggery
be.
is almost kind of slept on. I mean, she's not terrible.
Yeah, she's not terrible,
For
but I
being a
don't think
tank
she's
player,
at
but
that elite level
mhm.
quite yet.
I mean, have we? What about preseasons? Was she playing at all during them?
I don't think we've seen preseason yet. She
Okay.
got a little bit of time when they needed Roadhog, but other than that, she really didn't see much. Um,
I mean, you never know. I mean,
yeah,
she
we'll
could have
see.
definitely improved since last season. So,
Yeah, and then I
yeah.
think their biggest hole that they lost, their biggest player that I think is going to hurt them is Youngjin,
Mhm.
but they did replace that very strongly with Fleta. It's not as flexible as
Mhm.
Youngjin beat out Gegri for the Roadhog job.
Mhm.
And was able to play heroes like Doomfist very well.
Mhm.
So
And yeah, they. I mean, they also have plenty of DPS there. They have DM,
yes,
Ding, Fleta, Dia. I mean, it's just almost an ever-ending. It's a never-ending list of DPS players. So, I
yeah,
definitely don't think they're lacking there. And if the 1-3-2 comes into play, I mean, they're stacked for DPS play.
yeah. Just like look at their starting DPS line. If they start Fleta and DM, that's elite, and have options like Ding to switch out to. Very strong. So for the second game, I'm gonna go with the Dragons.
Hmm. Hopefully, they
Um,
don't go on a 40 lose streak.
I don't
But
think they will this
I
season.
I
I
don't
think
think they
they'll.
will. But I mean, it happened before. I mean, it can definitely happen again.
So now
Um,
we're going over the four roster, the final two games, the Hunters versus Spark.
I mean,
Um,
based on
I think,
Chengdu, I mean,
yeah.
both of them lost very little players.
hmm
So I
But I
mean,
think that last season, the Spark were definitely the stronger team.
yeah, and they can only
Um,
you can really only improve. I mean,
you
even
can
with
only really
meta
go up, yeah.
changes. So
So
spark there for sure.
Spark, I agree. And then the last game, Dynasty versus Dragons, I think the blockbuster of the weekend. It's going to be
Oh yeah.
very interesting to see. But I'm actually going to give the edge here to the Dragons.
I
I'm
mean,
really liking the changes that they made.
hmm I
I
mean,
think they're in a stronger
it's
spot here than
definitely
the.
more powerful than before.
Yes.
I mean, a lot more options to switch to and all that. So,
Yes, definitely more flexible.
all right.
Alrighty.
So, do you want to go to the Fusion homestand, or would you like to save
Yeah,
that
we'll do week
for next?
two.
All right, let's do the
So,
whole of week 2. Okay, here we go.
so I'd like to go through all four rosters first
Oh yeah,
before we look at the games.
let
So
me
let me.
pull some of those up.
Yep. So the first game we have the Florida Mayhem versus the Houston Outlaws. I'm gonna say it right out. The Houston Outlaws are winning this game. Um, Houston made some huge changes in the offseason, picking up. Let's see here: Hydration, Blase, Repel, Meko, and Jaxi.
Oh.
So five big pickups and really only losing Bonnie, Jake, and Cool Matt. So
I mean, Coolmat was a pretty. I mean, he was
he
almost
was
in their
eh,
compositions a lot more.
he lost his job to Spree and Muma,
Mm,
and
true.
he was kind of down there. But I definitely, right out of the gate, before even looking at the Mayhem roster, the Outlaws are winning this game. I think they're in a much, much stronger position than they were last season.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I mean, just looking at this roster, I really only see two names, and that's Saya Player and Fate. I mean, all these
yeah,
players look relatively new to me. At least 4 new ones and 3 that I have never seen play before. But the
So
only ones
yeah,
that
the
pop out are
three.
Saya Player and Fate. So
I don't like the change that they got rid of Hagapun. That makes me a little bit upset. I think Hagapun was doing pretty well for them.
yeah, for sure.
Um, I think he was one of their best players other than Saya. Fate underperformed last season. BQP underperformed. Chris is decent. Byrem is decent. Gargoyle, we'll have to see how he plays on
Yeah,
stage.
the rest of them we'll have to see because
And
they're
then Karyan Yaki and Gangnam Jin. I've heard a lot about Gangnam Jin. So we'll have to see how he does in the Overwatch League. But I think straight up, this match is going to Outlaws.
okay. Well, there it is. Outlaws against
Maybe,
Florida Mayhem and Outlaws.
maybe the new Florida Mayhem colors mean a new uprising,
True.
but I don't see that happening realistically. I think they're in another rebuild year. We'll see.
Um,
Maybe they pop off. Maybe they did great training.
um,
We'll definitely have to see. So, second game we're looking at the Washington Justice versus the Philadelphia Fusion, our home
oh,
team.
yeah.
So I think
Washington all the way.
we had already went over the Justice here. Corey Stratus, Arc, Elevote, Lulsich, Roar, Tuba, and Aim God. So strengthening the support position
hmm
and also strengthening the tank position strongly with Lulsich and Elevote. We'll have to see how they
hmm
play in
I
the
mean,
Overwatch League stage.
and not even that. Stratus and Corey are very consistent
Huge.
players. I mean,
Yeah.
Stratus on his Doom alone is. I mean, I saw an Ilio match. He just kept going. I mean, it
Yes.
was like 3+ kills a match. I mean, if he can keep that up,
And
uh,
their energy
mhm,
is
yeah,
one like no other.
yeah, no, he
So, and
definitely
then
has
we
an
go over
opportunity.
to the
Philly.
Philadelphia Fusion
Now,
here.
if I can start this, I would
hmm
like to say Poco, Carpe, Boombox, EQO, Sato. Great players.
Sato, I beg to differ. I think Sato is terrible. I think Sato is a bottom main tank in the league. I think Sato held them back from performing greatly in season 2. I think they had insane potential.
Mhm.
Um, they just didn't perform to that, and I think a lot of that is based on the performance of Sato. I cannot agree with Sato being a good player for them.
Well, not even not good player in the sense that he's good at his role, but he's good with working with the other players. It's not
I'll
that
give you
he's good
that.
on alone, but he definitely has. I mean, they have not including Sato, they still have 4 original players. I mean,
Yes.
so if they keep, I mean, and I don't even see any other tanks other than Fury. And Fury's if I'm not mistaken, a diva player. Yeah,
Yes, I
Yeah,
believe so.
diva player. So that could even outplay Poco. I mean, if
I
Poco hasn't
don't
changed, then Poco could
I don't
get
see that happening.
replaced.
I'm thinking we're gonna see Poco and Fury play against each other. Or because we've seen Poco play a main tank. It's
Mhm.
not the greatest. Or maybe Fury. Maybe he worked on his main tank over the offseason. But I definitely don't think we're gonna see a lot of Sato, considering his season 2 performance. We'll have to see though. That's
I
just my
mean,
personal
and
opinion.
then we didn't even talk about Funny Astro or
Oh
Chipsa.
yes. Funny Astro, one of my favorite players actually.
What does he play? Lucio? Yeah,
Yes.
Lucio.
That's why he's
Lucio
my favorite.
Mercy. I mean, he's pretty bottom of the pack for Lucio. I mean,
No,
in
not
stat.
even.
I mean, maybe that's out of all the players, but I'm not seeing a Lucio player stat. But I mean, just looking at it,
Well, he hasn't played in Overwatch League yet. He had a stint with the Rain Academy.
okay, so that's probably what I'm looking at.
hmm
Um, Disregard that. But one to really talk about is Chipsa. I mean, there's a lot of controversy over this.
Not happening. I'm gonna be surprised if I ever see him on stage.
I mean,
That's just my personal opinion. I don't know, man. I think
wait.
it's a publicity stunt.
Oh, no stats available. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I mean, and then with his brother being on the thing, I mean,
Yeah.
that could have just been, hey,
But
streaming isn't paying the bills. Can you get me on the team?
yeah,
I mean, it
we'll have to
very
see.
well could have been that. I mean,
Because
you
they're
never
already
know.
in a strong spot for DPS with EQO and pay anyway.
Yeah,
And then they even go out and sign Ivy, who
yeah.
is a strong hit scan player as well.
Hmm.
So I don't think Chips has a place on this team.
I mean,
I think
maybe.
he's just there
Yeah,
for his brother, publicity.
yeah,
I don't see a real reason for him to play.
yeah.
I'll be
But
surprised if I ever see.
so what are we picking here? I mean, I kind of want to give it to Philly.
Hmm.
Just, I mean, Washington has changed quite a lot, and
Not
I mean, but if you think about it, they only have an original support. They only have Arc, Stratus, and Corey. The rest are new. With these guys,
yes, but they
they
have
have
had.
the.
Keep in mind they have had Elevo and Wilsich since stage 4 of last year. They're not that new.
I
They
mean,
just didn't. They weren't allowed
mhm,
to play on stage because of visa problems. But they have had a lot of time with the team,
alright,
and they already have previous synergy with each other.
so yeah, I
So
mean, it really. I mean, this. I can't really. I don't want to like put it as me not giving a vote, but I really can't give a vote. This is a toss up here.
I'm going Justice. I don't think Philly's gonna live up to expectations again. I think they're gonna be disappointing.
True. I mean, and
Not
then
picking up a solid main tank, I think, is really gonna hurt them, considering Sato was
subpar.
bottom tier.
Yeah. I mean, and then again, if they just play Chipsa for publicity in the first match, they're done. There's no way. Yeah, I'm gonna that kind of sealed it for me. I'm gonna have to go with Justice here for
Nice.
that one. Now with Outlaws and
Big
Justice,
Outlaws.
uh, who did you
That's
say
fine.
they dropped? I haven't been able to load their
Um,
roster.
let me look real quick for you. They lost
It's not letting me
Kumat,
load their
Jake,
roster.
Bonnie. Kumak, Jake, and Bonnie.
If I'm not mistaken, Jake is now a caster.
Yes. He retired along with Custa.
Mm.
Um, because we're gonna have to talk about the casters too. We lost a lot of casters. But we'll talk about that at a later time. But
Okay.
picking up their pickups, I think were very strong. Hydration is great for
Oh
them.
yeah, that's a big
Blase
yeah.
is great. Repel is a pretty
Yeah.
great support. Meko is top tier to go along with the likes of Muma. So I think their starting six is going to be looking something like Muma, Meko, and then we're going to have something like Dante, Hydration, with Lingzer and Blase on the bench, and
Mhm.
then obviously Boink and Raucus, or maybe instead of Raucus, we see Repel being played, or we see Repel Jexa. We'll have to see, but I think they're very versatile, and I think they're going to be surprising.
Yeah, I mean that's got to go to Outlaws at that
Hmm.
point. I mean, it's not even the fact that they have so many players; it's the fact that Justice almost has a lack of players.
You're
Um,
right.
it's it's not something that can really be decided yet, but the lack
Hmm.
of DPS choices. I mean, they only got three, and Stratus and
Yes.
Corey. Corey's a good hit scan. Stratus is more of a projectile player. I mean, they
Well, they're
have
very good at
options there.
this current meta. They're
Yeah,
very good at it. Corey is pretty good at Reaper, like a brawl comp. They
yeah,
can run
hmm
extremely well. May is a strong point for Stratus.
yeah,
Um, so I think they're strong in this meta, but I don't know. I
yeah.
think
It's
Houston's gonna
yeah.
be.
Houston
a-
has to take that. I mean,
I'm gonna make a
they
bold
just
prediction here. Houston's gonna be a top 3 team. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Houston along with San
mhm,
Francisco Shock in the finals.
yeah.
That's a very bold prediction, but I think Houston's going somewhere this year. I think they're making playoffs at least, probably winning a stage. Oh wait, no, there's not even stages. Huh?
But yeah, the top team. I mean, based on what you're saying, I mean, you're convincing me
Yeah.
full on of
I
Houston. So hopefully they do. Hopefully they live up to what
we're
you're
gonna have
saying.
to see if maybe language barrier is a difficulty, but I think they have extreme versatility, and I
Hmm.
think they're gonna be able to play through everything.
Yeah. All
Be
right.
whereas last year they didn't have that versatility and they struggled, but now they have that versatility. They've upgraded and
I don't know. I haven't seen them in scrims. We haven't seen anything yet at this current state, but
Mhm.
I think they're going places.
All right. And then for the last one,
We
we
have
have
Mayhem and
Mayhem Philly.
Fusion.
I mean, if I'm just looking at the Mayhem roster, it looks lackluster.
Lackluster at best.
I
We're
mean,
gonna have to see how the new players perform. I mean, that's a lot of
uh,
these teams. We're just gonna have to
mhm.
see how they perform. It's
So
hard to make a prediction.
yeah, but I think for sure this one has to go to Philly. I mean, they have the core DPS. I mean,
Yes.
they have the Carpe, they have EQO. I mean, they have
And
Poco still, Boombox, Amazing Lucio. I
they
mean,
have a core that we've seen before.
so I
And
mean, it works.
if we compare the two cores of the teams that we're thinking that we're going to see, Fusion rolls over them any day. I
hmm
think Mayhem is the worst
Yeah.
team in the league with the core that we've been seeing. They
hmm
have so much talent, but it's being heavily underutilized.
hmm All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are the prediction, and that will end up wrapping up this podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know it's been a long hour listening to us talk about Overwatch, but I would like to thank you guys very much.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
have a good night, y'all, and we will see you again soon.